I think that is a very high degree of difficulty put on anybody. And I do not think she is the perfect candidate. I tend to agree with Sarah that probably in a fully litigated primary, she probably would not have been the Democratic nominee, but we'll never know that. But I will tell you that, like, there's never been anybody who's had the difficulty of that situation, elevated that late in the campaign.
Why? What? To run away from
Bill, I don't know if you know this, but the Vice President of the United States is basically shoved in a broom closet for 3.5 years.
I know.
Like, you couldn't.
She was more popular in there.
Yes, well.
I mean, there's this idea that in a mass media age, that 107 days is not long enough to know somebody.
You are way overestimating the American people in terms of what their ability. No. You have someone like Donald Trump has become a universally known, understood, loved by some, hated by others over the course of being omnipresent for 8 years.
Okay.
Barack Obama becomes president of the United States after running for 2 years as president, runs a 50-state primary, is on television, does dozens of Democratic debates, and by the time at the end of that, most people knew who he was. Most people. Yeah. You drop somebody in the middle of the top of the ticket, 3 days out, 3 months out. You are going to have to spend a lot of time trying to introduce yourself to the country while also being in a steel cage death match with Donald Trump.
In this video, Bill Maher hosted 2 particularly woke guests on Real Time with Bill Maher, and he ended up spectacularly dismantling their arguments. It's a moment that highlights how far things have gone when even Maher, who usually leans left, feels compelled to call out the absurdity of certain narratives being pushed. Here's the kicker. Voices that have spent years criticizing conservatives as crazy conspiracy theorists are now experimenting with their own wild theories about election fraud. For years, conservatives have been calling for reforms to protect election integrity, but were dismissed or demonized by the left. Fast forward to today, and some of those same critics are now alleging nefarious election activity, essentially accusing Donald Trump of orchestrating some grand electoral fraud. The hypocrisy is evident in this footage as Maher meticulously breaks down his guests' arguments, highlighting their inconsistencies, exaggerated language, and incoherence. Maher's sharp criticism causes their attempts to justify their positions to falter. Let's get started. This is a moment you won't want to miss, when Bill Maher challenges their reasoning and stands up to the very narratives that have started to go awry.
I don't know if you ever watched this show, but I had Michael Douglas on this week.
Yeah.
At the top, we were talking about this, and he made a very good point that every other country in the world can do it in months, sometimes weeks. Why can every other country do it in that short a period of time? Are they all so much brighter than America? I don't think so.
Well,
mostly parliamentary. I mean, there's literal reasons, right? We don't have a parliamentary system.
I mean,
we also have a First Amendment. We don't make people campaign this whole time. The American people want to give them $20, and so they can afford it. I mean, small dollar donors are arguably the worst thing that's happened to our politics, as it turned out.
It's a small dollar donor didn't make $20 billion. No.
A lot of it.
Some of it, yeah.
And they represent like 2% of our country.
There's a few special PACs in there that saw $100 million plus.
Those are bad too.
I think you can believe that you could have shorter elections in America, but it's not like we don't know. In Britain, for instance, when you have a short election, it's not like you don't know who the leader of the party is for months and years before that.
But you're either the person who's Googling the day before, did Biden drop out? Or in a week. Did anyone in this audience not know enough about Kamala Harris pretty much after a week to make a decision? Yeah, people. And
How
it's
are you
ridiculous.
That?
We just get sicker of them.
What? So
How are you going to tell people they
say
can't
the
talk
same
about politics?
What?
How with free speech that I know you love?
Yeah.
How are you going to limit people's ability to run for office?
I'm not limiting. We're not making a law.
In this real-time episode, Bill was blazing hot. Even though I don't always agree with him, I have to say, he was spot on this time. His proposal to improve American politics struck a chord. Lawmakers should only receive their government salaries, lobbyists should be outlawed, and donations from outside parties should be prohibited. Just a clear, open system with no backdoor deals or outside funding. It almost sounds too good to be true. And let's be honest, corruption would probably still find a way in through shady transactions, even in that ideal setup. That's the sad truth of politics. However, what truly stole the show was Maher's brilliant takedown of his two woke guests' arguments. Honestly, I have no idea who they were. It was hard to take their opinions seriously because they were so out there. But Maher wasn't having it. With his signature wit and sharp reasoning, he meticulously dismantled their points, leaving them scrambling to respond. It was a masterclass in cutting through the noise.
Everything the candidates, especially the Democrats, do to get voters annoys them. The constant texting. Did you get the texts like from Tim Walz every 5 minutes and the like always begging for money and knocking on doors? We've got people knocking on doors. People don't want knocking on your door. Who in this day and age wants someone knocking on? Kids don't even like it when a phone call. That's like too much of a invasion of their privacy, which they don't care about. Who might emerge as the strongest Democratic opposition leader in the next Trump era? Oh, well, that's a good question. I mean, like Adam Schiff, he won right big.
He won, but I like Westmore.
Westmore's fantastic. He's in Maryland.
Yep.
But who's going to be the one? Gavin Newsom, we have here in this state. He's already like called the legislature to. Trump hasn't done anything yet, but I understand the.
This was the problem. There was a 2014 study that showed that Fortune 500 companies were more likely to pick a female CEO if the company was struggling, basically setting women up for the big job, but to also fail. If they did well, fine. But if they failed, like, look, we have a female CEO while failing. And that's what I feel like they did to Kamala Harris. When Biden refused to step aside and not run again, he was supposed to be that bridge. He backed off on that promise due to arrogance.
Tensions were higher than ever as the guests struggled to find common ground, and the debate quickly got out of hand. As expected, Bill Maher dominated the conversation with his incisive logic and biting wit, leaving his guests little room to respond effectively. It was a quintessential Maher moment, controlling the discussion with reason and precision. Remember to click the subscribe button if you enjoy this kind of content, and check back soon for more engaging and thought-provoking videos. Now, let's get back to the action and see how it all played out.
And then he drops out after a catastrophic debate performance, and they set Kamala Harris up to fail. That was a 3-month campaign, and she was supposed to introduce herself to the American people. No wonder people were Googling, did Joe Biden drop out? And so...
No. No. You saying 3 months wasn't long enough?
It was too long. It was long enough.
It was long enough.
If they had a primary...
It's not that they didn't have time to introduce. They met someone and didn't like them.
If they had a primary, they wouldn't have picked her. And if they had,
That's
she would have been able to
Yes.
rough out those edges that then she basically has to start from scratch with a campaign team she didn't hire that didn't like her, right? It was his team.
Discussions around identity politics and party strategy often fuel the claim that Kamala Harris was essentially forced upon the Democratic Party. Harris represents several key groups the party has sought to engage, including Asian Americans and women of African American descent. Her current prominence within the party and her selection as Joe Biden's running mate in 2020 can be seen as part of a broader effort to build a diverse coalition of voters. However, that doesn't mean the party had no other options. If winning elections were the sole goal, why not choose a candidate with broader appeal and stronger polling numbers? Share your thoughts about this real-time debate in the comments. Did Maher have the right to call them out? And do you think the current political structure offers any real chance of improving American politics? Let's talk.